Before we get into talking about today's games, a word from all of us at the Overwatch League. We, as gamers and as humans, have to stand up against racism, against inequality, and against injustice. We must hold our entire community accountable, hold our friends accountable, and hold ourselves accountable. Activision Blizzard has made a donation to organizations who are united in this effort, with a goal of raising over $4 million across the company to help provide transformative opportunities to Black Americans and to fight against systemic inequality.
Joined by Wolf. Before we get into things, do want to acknowledge the powerful words there spoken by Zoe. We all do need to stand together and stop systemic racism, make sure that everybody is treated equally. And watching here from in Korea, not being able to be a part of the protests back in the United States does sadden me, but keep up the good work, keep being peaceful, and let's make some real change in the world.
Yep. Always got to focus on what you can do to make the world a better place and make the future a better place. But we got to talk about the present now, Achilleos. Overwatch League is back, and you and I are back in Korea. A lot has changed since we have been back here in Seoul.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're glad to see your girlfriend.
I don't have a girlfriend anymore. But it's okay, because I have a wife. That is right, guys. Since returning here to Korea, I have joined the married man meta, and it's really exciting to finally talk about that. But I'm not going to go ahead and soak up the limelight here. Just wanted to kind of slide that in. Now it's time to focus on our matches here. Starting things off, we're going to have the Shanghai Dragons going up against the London Spitfire. Shanghai, of course, are APAC champions for the May Melee. Now looking to see if they can get back-to-back championship wins here in the month of June.
Yeah, and the starting lineup for the London Spitfire comes with no real surprises, right? You've got Glister and Aldo bringing in the DPS line. You've got Jungmak and Bernard on the tank line, Hailey and Sanguinar on the support. So your normal six. Bernard has become, kind of a fixture now on the flex tank. It feels like they're not really subbing him out all too much anymore.
Yeah.
And they come in as the massive underdogs here, again, against the Shanghai Dragons, and I think even though they've improved a lot, their roster, remains the same. I think there's still a big experience and mechanical gap between these two squads.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this, a lot of people probably looking at the matchup and saying, oh, well, this should be a pretty easy 3-0. But we do have to take a look at the starting six for the side of the Shanghai Dragons. There is somebody, a key fixture missing from this squad, and that is going to be their resident Lucio player. Shanghai Dragons tweeting that he is currently under the weather with a cold. They are monitoring his situation to make sure that it is just a cold. But for now, we will have Luffy starting.
For those of you guys not familiar with Luffy, he's actually been around for a really long time. Originally on Kongzu Panthera way back in the day. He's been a main support player for a really long time, but also known for flexing, playing Soldier 76. Has also played flex support. Like, he's played a little bit of everything. He's a very strong player, and one you should definitely not underestimate, even though he's coming in as a substitute today.
Yeah, for sure. So still should be a very big force to be reckoned with there for the side of the Shanghai Dragons. So, London Spitfire, you've had this break after the May Melee, a couple weeks off to try and get situated, build up on the synergy. Realistically, how do you approach taking a victory over Shanghai here today?
I mean, I think you really just have to watch the footage from Shanghai, and I think you have to build compositions around this week's hero pool. And there's no Sombra this week, so I think that makes it a lot easier if you're a kind of rookie team like London Spitfire is to prepare strategies, because Sombra is so dominant across so many different types of metas that you kind of just have to play around her no matter what, and Shanghai are a great Sombra team. I think the fact that she's not a factor here anymore means that you can really play to Glister's strengths. You know, we could see a lot of potential dive with the Tracer. We could see Widowmaker, especially on Busan, which is going to be our starting map. We'll get more into the map details later. But I gotta say, like, I think if you're really gonna take Shanghai down, you've got to take it map by map, step by step, and build a unique composition for this week's hero pool. Because there's no Sombra, I think there's so many more options to do that.
Yeah, we also don't have, just to go through the rest of it, we don't have the Echo, the Diva, or the Brigida in the meta this, for these next 2 weeks. So there's going to be a lot more time for the teams to try and, play around with these compositions and see what is the most superior in the specific scenarios and the specific maps that they will be playing on. You and I were kind of talking about it during the rehearsal. Maybe we get to see some Widowmaker coming through. Glister versus DM always sounds pretty damn exciting to me. So with Busan coming out as our first map, it does give a lot of leeway for that potential matchup to happen.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a really good chance that we do see that Widowmaker duel. I think a lot of people are predicting to see a little bit of McCree in this double shield meta that we're very likely going to see, because he's so versatile. Tracer's still available, Brigida's removed, so Tracer becomes very powerful in that regard. So having McCree as not only extra long-range poke on some of these open maps like Busan is nice, but then you have that extra ability to kind of peel for your teammates, and you've got that extra safety net of having the flashbang. So yeah, no Diva makes it easier to play Widowmaker, especially on more tiered maps. You go to maps like Gibraltar later down the line. I think Widowmaker is going to be very powerful there, but in a situation where, it's a little bit more open, I think McCree is a great choice.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what these guys land on. We have been having some, wild and crazy comps come through during the May Melee. That was mostly, during the time when we did not have any hero restrictions whatsoever. But I'm hoping that with the 2 weeks, the 2-week changes coming in rather than week to week for the hero pools, we get some more looseness in the compositions that can be coming through from all of the teams that will be playing, here in the June tournament. So I'm excited to see what these guys land on, and whether or not London Spitfire can take up the sling here in this David versus Goliath story and throw the stone straight and true at the giant that is the Shanghai Dragons. Because, like I said, they're going to be looking for those back-to-back championships. They have been absolutely on a tear as of late. Maybe one questionable loss there in the last month, but for the most part has just been nothing but dominant.
Yeah, I mean, they had a rough start against Seoul as well in the grand finals, but they were able to power back through and end up taking the series, which is almost more impressive than anything else. But you joked to me earlier, it'd almost be like the most Shanghai thing ever if they suddenly lost a close series to London Spitfire on our first day back. And I think it is possible, but I think we should definitely go into this expectations being if London takes any maps at all, that's a huge win for them, because there's such a gulf between these teams right now in terms of results.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as close as they can make this series, it's just going to be better for them looking down the line and the continued growth of that young squad. But we are ready to jump into our first map here in the month of June for the Overwatch League. So let's go ahead and head to Busan. And as we can see, we are going to be starting off on Sanctuary.
It's pretty surreal for me, Achilles. This is the first time I've done a professional esports broadcast, like my main job, a premier tournament from my room here in Seoul. And this is where I sit, this is where I practice Overwatch, this is where I take notes, and I know everyone's been broadcasting from home for a while, but you and I are actually home now, and it's a pretty surreal feeling. And it's cool that the internet allows us to do this.
The internet is a wonderful thing, even if it is just a series of tubes. We've done a lot with it, and a lot of it for the greater good. But here we go. Round one, getting ready to kick off. We already see that Widowmaker from Glister ready to go, although on that Symmetra as well. So see if this is just going to be for the TP forward, and it is. Instead, he's going to be swapping over onto the Tracer, and here it is, the matchup that we were kind of teasing. Yeah. DM versus Glister.
This is the best place to play Widowmaker of the 3 map types within Busan, because you have the most wide spaces to hit things like this. Okay. And that's already Luffy down.
And already a very solid start here for Glister. London Spitfire, we'll see if this is going to translate into them getting the point. For now, Fearless is sitting here, getting slowly topped up by those Orbs of Harmony from Izayaki. And with Luffy rejoining, they might just be able to push back. J-Mac going to be eliminated, played into the back line, looking for Hiley. Takes him low, but he cannot get that one clip. But you can see the support coming through. So they do manage to keep that Zenyatta alive and in the fight. He is falling significantly further behind Izayaki, however, when it comes down to that Transcendence charge time. Shanghai Dragons now have the points, so London Spitfire have to try and advance towards them, and that is going to be increasingly difficult to try and take the point when you are going up against a Transcendence to just keep everybody alive. There's no Bionates here for London.
It's going to be tough, but I think that their time to strike is now, as you were saying. Look at this huge flank here from Boyd. It's actually going to do a ton of damage, and I don't think the Spitfire can break through right now. Look at the pulse damage as well. They just can't approach the point right now, so Trance is going to finish. As you say, Izayaki is so close to it. London are just going to have to try to bait ultimates.
That's going to be the Gravitic Flux coming through, but Void going to be stunned out of it, so they do not get that slam damage, which is good for Spitfire as the Immortality Field was already taken down. Now the window going to be coming through. Void goes ahead, uses the Kinetic Grasp, gets quite a bit of shielding stacked up, and just continues to bounce those spheres around the corner, continuing to build up towards that next ultimate, which Benar still trying to get there himself. 56% now discorded, trying to hug in behind that shield, but just cannot do so. He and Sanguinar now, J-Mac as well will fall. Front line broken down, everybody else under fire. He's going to have to try and exit, but based on where they're at, it's just not going to be allowed to happen.
Shanghai have the Transcendence that we were talking about earlier still online. Blood and DM synergy, you know, it's a new duo on the DPS, but they look great together on these two heroes. You know, we thought maybe if we'd see them together, it'd be Widow Pharah, but it's actually going to be the Tracer that Fleta picks up, obviously, in this meta that we have right now, this mini hero pool meta. But is hiding from a flank here. They still hold Trance. London Spitfire are going to have to match Trance. I think they have to try to, on their approach, Transcend second and get a big Gravitic Flux. It's going to be so hard to take this back.
Yeah, now Pulse Bomb ready, looking for an opportunity to stick. He's using that Infra Sight to keep tabs on everybody on the side of London Spitfire. They, however, are able to spot them, obviously, as Glisters is just now going to be running out, but at 93% into the backline goes Fleta, takes down Hiley. That is already catastrophic. Now Aldo is going to be eliminated as well. They nearly pop Izayaki, but he holds onto the Transcendence. Knew that he was not going to be eliminated. Pulse Bomb lobbed in by Fleta, not going to be able to find anything, but it doesn't matter. The cleanup continues to come through left, right, and center from the Shanghai Dragons, and in dominant fashion, they shut down London in the first round of Busan.
It's a hot and cold composition when you're running Tracer with a double shield comp, because Tracer's either doing a ton of damage in the backline and you're crushing it, or your Tracer isn't doing as much, you can't move forward. And so as a result, when you fall so behind on ultimates like that, like Bernard having his Gravitic Flux so much later and not even really being able to have it there to reaggress onto the point, things like that mean that Hiley is kind of guaranteed to have to use his Trance to attack the point. If he has to do that, then Izayaki gets a guaranteed second Trance, so you don't want that. So you kind of have to tiptoe around all these things, because you're not playing to get the 1% and take the point once. You're playing to actually win the ult economy war while doing so. So even though they weren't able to do so, and they didn't use all of their ultimates in that last fight, they were playing for the bigger picture. It just didn't work out.
No, it did not. Let's see how take two goes, though, for London. Just going to be going back over to the classic main Reaper, as DM going to be piloting that Ashe. No surprise, as this is going to be a bit more close quarters. So, picks that one up, but so far it will be London Spitfire going for that Death Ball, just charging at the Shanghai Dragons, and they clean them up. Glister picking up 3 there on the back end, and although building up to nearly 50% of that Blizzard, you can see already Fleta is going to be swapping to match. Fearless, however, respawning, still going to be sticking through with that Orisa.
I wonder, too, about the sticking with the Ashe here. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of line of sight. She's halfway to a Bob, but even the Bob is going to be hard to get into a position to do damage with right now with London Spitfire's positioning and the ability to Ice Wall here. So I don't know if the Ashe has a place here. If they break through, certainly she will have a huge amount of potential. Dynamite can be quite strong in these situations, too, but breaking through is the hardest part.
Yeah, that's going to be the wall coming up, and they did not corner check to spot Glister around the side. Shatter going to be dropped in, manages to find a couple targets, and the cleanup starts to come through. Wiping the floor with them. In return here is the London Spitfire as they maintain control, currently about to hit 35%.
And I mean, this is the problem. I mean, DM doesn't do a ton of damage. He gets 35% ult charge, you know, from that last engagement. Doesn't get a Bob. And as you were saying, the biggest part was the positioning of Glister. They didn't see him. They took so much damage from him even without his ultimate. The wall here.
Wall comes up, blocks the fire strike, and here the window through, however, from Hiley. So they do manage to push through. Immortality Field going to be taking another
Fire strike,
but the Fire Strike from J-Mac goes straight through that Amp Matrix and cuts them down. 3 kills picked up with 1 ability. That is some incredible value. See Bob now going to be taking his leave.
This is a rough.
As Spitfire wait for their respawns. DM does manage to find a pick up on the Glister that gets rid of 1 big threat, but is that enough for them to get to the point? They're currently trying to make their way over as 75% gets ready to roll through, but J-Mac finds another kill!
They needed to regroup here, Achilles, and they're not.
Shatter dropped in, goes straight into the barriers. It doesn't net them much. Sound barrier out from Sanguinar in response to the Gravitic Flux from Void. DM under fire, and J-Mac claims another one with the Fire Strike. It's just been pinpoint accuracy from him with these Fire Strikes thus far. Shield is going to be broken. Goes quite low, but they manage to keep him up. Death Blossom over on the side takes down Luffy. Could not keep himself alive, and somebody needs to tag the point, but I don't think anybody can. No, they cannot. An equal show of dominance here from the London Spitfire. 100-0 after being 100-0.
I mean, this was a compositional problem. If you get the point first with Ashe, she has so many sightlines. She can chip away at anyone who tries to come out of those choke points, but if you don't get it first, you struggle to get out. The Bob isn't useful in most of those situations. Take a look at Junak here. I think this could be the Fire Strike, if I'm not mistaken. Walls up, and there's the Fire Strike. He was actually hiding too to the left before for a potential penny. He's actually been in really nice spots. His positioning's been pretty sick throughout Busan, even when they did get 100-0. But going back to what I was saying really quick as we head into this one, we are going to see, actually I'm just going to scrap that entirely. Let's talk about Fleta DM on the Pharaoh Widow. Shanghai Dragons' most successful composition last year, but it wasn't on the roster back then. It was Ding on the Pharaoh. But this is an unstoppable duo in theory. One of the greatest Pharaohs and one of the greatest Widows together on Shanghai Dragons, a team that's familiar with this composition. This is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it's going to be executed here. Obviously, there are going to be differences. We, of course, have Fearless back on the roster, and instead of Gamsu on the Wrecking Ball, it is going to be Void. So let's see how they pilot this composition. For now, London Spitfire are going to be very grouped up. Bionade connects on the 4 members, and that is the go button. They just press in, and Fleta claims 3 for himself. 70% of the way towards that barrage. No one else even close.
The Mei Widowmaker composition seems a little bit anti-synergistic at first when you think about it, but the Mei can help heal quite a bit for the Widowmaker, and the Widowmaker at long range can chip away at heroes that are, making that slow peek around. I don't think they expect to see the Pharah. After, this happens, he's swapped over for a moment to the Tracer, Glister did, and now is onto the McCree. So it's a much better, more well-rounded composition they're running now.
Well, he is already dropping down right up into their faces. The barrage not going to be well placed enough to lead to multiple kills, but although already gets picked off, run over by Void. Fleta just going to be keeping himself safe, has Luffy there to back him up.
Luffy,
that Mercy in the sky.
Important to note, Luffy was, back in the day, Mercy was a flex support. It was one of his stronger heroes, actually, back in the old days of Pharah. So this is actually a position he's very comfortable with. So this may be why they're running this, because Lee Jae-gun is sick, or perhaps they were preparing it all along. We'll never know, but he's doing a great job so far.
That he is, although under fire again, trying to get the freeze here. Bionade comes through. He'll go ahead and ice block that one off, so keeps himself safe and healable for the moment. Fearless going to be leaping around. That's going to be the nano boost investment here onto the Winston. Primal Rage getting ready to expire, but not before he can clean up multiple kills. And again, it's just looking like the London Spitfire do not have legs to stand on in this third and final round of Busan. 65% already accrued for the Shanghai Dragons. Another barrage is there. They have the infra site. They have the minefield. They can create so much space.
Has the sound barrier coming up soon, and he will be able to get that, before 100% minus, if he got picked off or something like that. But that's their only real chance here, is to outlast. And the barrage can change everything if it is not avoided. He's got a great position to use it too.
He's just threatening them here. See, Sanguinar nearly takes him down. Had he gotten that second rocket connection around the corner, would have been Lucio gone. And no sound barrier for the fight. The Deadeye will come out from Blister. The barrage is up over the top, and he takes him down. Poetic Justice in the barrage is the one getting rid of the McCree ultimate. Now Bernard sniped by DM. The sound barrier shielding has already gone ahead and expired, taken away from them, highly trying to survive, but just cannot do so, and the OT will go ahead and tick down here as they string one after the other onto the point. Glister swaps to the Soldier 76, but to no avail. It is not fast enough, and that is going to be map number 1 going to Shanghai Dragons. Round 2 looking good. Thought maybe Spitfire was going to be able to come back in, have at least a competitive round 3, but Shanghai just in 1 and 3, they just shut them down completely.
I mean, the irony of the barrage there, or rather the irony of the Deadeye, is that was the easiest way for Fleta to actually guarantee that he was going to die, because all Fleta had to do was go behind him, and he didn't know exactly where Fleta was, and Fleta was just able to instantly get that barrage kill, and then set up for everything else that they planned to do afterwards. A lot of people are probably wondering why suddenly the Pharah. Is it just because they've got Luffy in? Is it because, DM and Fleta have probably been practicing that Widow Pharah synergy? I think the main reason is because there's no D.Va. There's no D.Va to protect the McCree there. There's no D.Va to protect those approaching members that were trying to get back on the point. And a D.Va-less comp is always going to struggle against that. And unfortunately, they just could not get Glister in position to knock Fleta out of the sky.
Yeah, I mean, Widow, Pharah, these are going to excel in a D.Va-less hero pool. So I'm looking forward to more of this play from Fleta, from DM. We'll see if there's going to be any swap-ups on either team when we get ready to come back from the break. So stay tuned, guys. Map 2 coming at you in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are just one map into our first series of the day between the Shanghai Dragons and the London Spitfire. Shanghai looking very dominant, as we might have anticipated coming into this series. Rounds 1 and 3 to close out Busan, 100% 2-0. London Spitfire, now it's time to bounce back, try and recover from that staggering loss. Looked good in round 2, but now they need to translate that into map number 2 and try to pick up a victory.
I mean, it felt like it was one-sided in a lot of aspects, especially the 2 rounds that Shanghai won, but it did feel almost a little bit rock, paper, scissors in terms of compositions. When they were trying to force the Ashe on Mecha base, Shanghai looked weak as well because they couldn't find value out of that hero. Glister's positioning on the Reaper made it really tough for them to break out. I mean, May Reaper on Mecha base with double shield is like a bread and butter composition. I felt like Shanghai wanted to prove something by not running it mirror-wise. They fell behind ult economy. You go to the Pharah comp, it was a late swap to the McCree. They didn't expect to see that, and then later on, obviously, ended up really struggling to get in there. It didn't have the proper ultimates required. They didn't have a D.Va, so getting a little bit blindsided by that. I think when we have the series further develop, I think that we're going to see closer games. I don't think London Spitfire is going to get as countered. I don't think Shanghai will get as countered, for example, by or counter themselves, whatever you want to say. They're going to be trying to put the the square Ash into the round mecha base. If I could say that. So I think we'll see like the series normalize a little better. London Spitfire not looking lost at all. I feel otherwise though. I mean, the coordination looks good, and I feel like this team is getting better from week to week.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be staggering differences as they continue to advance and play together more. There are, obviously you and I had some contention with other people at the start of the season when everyone said that they were just, this group of rookies and whatnot. Like, no, actually, hold on, pump your brakes a little bit. Like, the players in the London Spitfire, for the most part, are all pretty seasoned as far as, Tier 2 is concerned, and they have, stage presence and whatnot. So, but yeah, I mean, this stuff, them coming together for the first time and playing in such a big tournament, it is going to take time. Look at how long it took for, a team like the Washington Justice to really find their stride in, last season in 2019. It took pretty much the entire season for that to happen. Ideally for Spitfire, that is not going to be the case, and they can get things together here, in the next couple weeks and then really make a deep run for the June tournament. Time will tell, and we have to just kind of wait and see and just keep an eye on their growth. But we are ready to go ahead and jump into our second map in this series, and it is going to be Kings Row for Hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, Kings Row, a map where, this map couldn't be more solved, I feel like. And with no Sombra in the picture, I think we're going to see a ton of double shield, Reaper May, and especially when you get off of A, like you just can't really run anything else. You try to run the Tracer, and you're really going to struggle. I mean, Dallas Fuel has proven otherwise. We have seen a few teams force the Tracer to great success, Dallas being the first one to do that, way back now, like a month and a half ago or so. But right now for London Spitfire, they're showing us the Ash May, so having that extra line of sight. Okay. Perhaps expecting more Pharah play that it's going to be difficult to deal with without a Diva. But, it's a safe composition they're running, but it's not as safe as I think the Reaper would be in a lot of cases. But they're clearly prepped to run this, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, yeah, worth noting, of course, that Lip is currently in.
Yes.
He's still on hovering that. Pharah now going to be swapping over onto the Widowmaker, likely for that initial shot. We'll see if they want to stick with a double sniper, or if it is just going to be for that opening volley. Okay. Already getting a bit more interesting. Lip going to be spotting out the barriers, gets that headshot tag on the J-Mac, but cannot follow up with a second shot, so he'll drop back, swap over onto the Tracer, and we're just going to be going for dive, accompanied by that Zarya. To have those bubbles to throw Fleta into the back line and keep him safe.
Yeah, he's hitting right now, and he's just going to look for the Ash kill here onto Glister.
Oh, well, you can see Glister was pretty ready for that. Chunks him down significantly off the bat, but already 1.5 ticks going to be surrendered. Shanghai Dragons just go ahead and scoop that up, and Sanguinar just cannot get out of there in time. Gets taken down. Fleta going to be receiving some orbs to the head there from Hylie, so it does get rid of the Genji, further delaying any type of Dragon Blade build up here, but he does have that faster run back. He's got the dash, so he can rejoin the team rather quickly, but it seems like this is going to have to be a retreat call here, as it's just the support still playing forward.
J-Mac's barrier placement there was actually, it's a pretty obvious barrier, but it was placed in such a way that, Izayaki could neither heal his allies nor purple the London Spitfire players there, even though he had a nice angle otherwise. So that barrier ended up being pretty huge there, because otherwise they might have won that war of attrition. But it isn't getting a ton done here. He's looking for picks. He's not looking for Dragon Blade build. He's not being pocketed a lot. And I don't know if this is going to work out in the long run versus double shield. I think you're going to need that ultimate. He's not even halfway there.
He needs to get up close and personal. He's trying for it. The right click. Straight shot just kind of happening to find Hylie there as Fearless cleaves his way through Glister and Sanguinar. Fleta will go ahead and find a final tag on the back end onto J-Mac. He'll get the finish here onto Aldo, and they have broken through. So all in all, not that much time lost. They will go ahead and start the Streets phase with just shy of 5 minutes. Now it's all about stability from London, and can they get the heck out of the tube?
They can't get out of here.
They can't get out of the tube.
They can't get out of the tube. Kings Row is a series of tubes, I think, famous quote. No. Bled is about to have Dragon Blade actually from that. He got a ton of ult percentage from the Swift Strikes. So I thought he was going to swap.
Yeah, 3 kills on the back end.
Yeah, he ends up just going straight up to Dragon Blade. He's not going to have a nano boost, but he's going to have a Zarya bubble and potentially, a little bit of extra Luffy healing. So I think go for it. You can at least force the trance out of this.
Yeah, maybe try to open things with the Pulse Bomb and then go in for the Grav Blade. We'll see exactly what they want to do. Void's still, 20% away from having that Graviton Surge online, so the big carrying ultimate is lacking.
Yeah,
Spitfire have a ton to work with here, though. 5 ultimates ready to go. The Blizzard being one of them. Unfortunately, unable to use that in the choke, given the stagger kills. But nearly gets taken down. The Bionade takes down Bernard. Blizzard will find a headshot, getting rid of Lip, making sure that you cannot see that Pulse Bomb come out in the fight.
Ooh, this is all falling apart.
Shanghai peeling back to the card.
Yeah, they used Valkyrie there. So the plan was for Lip to try to assassinate either Glister or Hylie, and you guys probably didn't see it right away. Nice kill here. It's going to be another stagger. You guys probably couldn't see that he was hiding on the edge there, but he actually was looking for that Pulse Bomb kill and just got flashbanged by Glister. So that happens sometimes when the McCree's really ready for the Tracer flank. As soon as he died, Fleta didn't want to commit anymore. He was getting, ice to the face by Aldo, and the Valkyrie gets wasted. It all fell apart. Now, they still have a Grav Blade combo, and they're going to have a Nano Blade here too, but Spitfire have 6 ults, so it's going to be a crazy fight. And that one missed.
Okay. That's a really big whiff on a Graviton Surge. Trying to lob that one in. Clipped onto the rooftop there on the corners. It does not make it over in front of point B, so a major loss now for the side of the Shanghai Dragons. How do they try to engineer a turnaround now? Pulse Bomb comes out. The Dragon Blade will come through. Immortality Joke already cleaned up, but you can see the window coming out. The Transcendence keeping everybody alive for a little bit longer, but now the Bionade sacked in on top of from Izayaki. The cleanup can happen. Fleta dashes his way through to 2 kills. Looks for another one. Flashbang will come out and Glister will finish him off. But it's a bittersweet moment as Lip is there to find some swift revenge. Shanghai Dragons on that play will be able to push through here onto point B, but with just 4 minutes remaining in the time bank for the hardest stage of this map.
Yeah, I mean, very much sloppy execution from Shanghai, but Izayaki's Bio Grenade is, as pointed out, the real turning point because no one can heal in that crazy fight where Fleta is able to get a bunch of dash resets, but it was a very rough start to that fight, and it looked like London was going to take it without that bio during the trance. Lip swapping over to this Widowmaker because he has a lot of line of sight right now after that one team fight, and he might even be able to get onto that high ground right above the point if he's lucky. Glister's going to match. It's all about that high ground control right now. You can see he's looking to see. Yeah, Lip,
he knows where it is now.
Yeah, he knows now for sure.
It's all the shop. It's a matter of trying to get into a position where you can actually take control. You can see he's going to be wrapping back around through the spawn to try to get to the right side. Lip pushing up onto the high ground should be able to match him, but already Shanghai Dragons, they just push through. No one can make their way. We're so busy taking a look at the Widowmakers that the cart just rolls in with 3 minutes and 3 seconds remaining. So London just giving a bit too much room over to the Widow play there, and they just don't push out towards the cart. They just can't do it.
Yeah, I think that right now Shanghai Dragons are just winning a war of mentality almost in terms of what they're running, because London Spitfire, they already knew, okay, we've got to swap over to Widow to try to counter their Widow, but he's got high ground, and you could see, you could feel like the tension in Glister's movements every time he tried to. He grappled like out of spawn because he's like, oh, I'm just going to die instantly. And then the team had to play around the fact that there was just no Widow pressure from Spitfire to repel Lip. And they lost the tank war, the neutral war, ultimately on the point, and then the cart just rolls through. Like, look at this. Like, Fearless is the only one here, but look how everyone's hiding from Lip's line of sight. Look at how far behind they are.
Yeah.
Like, Hylie's over here, Bernard's trying to use his shield, it keeps getting broken, and then J-Mac just, feebly tries to touch the point because, like, oh god, we've just lost a tank war from Widowmaker alone. That's the power of sightline advantage right there.
Yeah. Very, very well demonstrated by Shanghai Dragons. Now London Spitfire, with a bit of egg on their face, have to try and turn this around and have a dominant attack. They cannot afford to flounder on point A. They need to get that lockdown quickly and break through the initial archway. If they get caught up there in the choke, then it's going to be very costly for them as far as the time bank, and maybe even prevent them from finishing the map. Glister's going to swap over onto the Widowmaker. He's looking for a target, but sees that barrier there.
Void's barrier is too well placed.
Already highly going to be eliminated by Fleta. Continues to play forward here.
London is caught in a really bad spot.
Okay, he's dashed down the staircase and is just building up free ult charge against J-Mac. Will help take him down with the assistance of Luffy.
The problem is there wasn't any peel, unfortunately, to deal with Fleta. So, I mean, Glister would try to get that headshot kill, then he swapped over to Ash, but he couldn't rejoin his team, so the team was essentially cut in half, London Spitfire was, and then just mowed down. Fleta's going to have a pulse bomb soon, too, which You know, it means they need to stick together even more than before. I'm surprised we don't see McCree here coming out of London to try to help repel that. Just gonna look for the Ashe headshots here and the additional barrier break. But
trying for it. Dynamite not going to get triggered there, so Void will not be burning down. Just continues to play around the statue as Lip is up here on the high ground. A lot of damage there onto Hylie. The assistance of that Discord orb, but so far not leading to any kills. Is building up nicely towards that Bob, however, as Fleta continues to play around the staircase. Has that pulse bomb ready to go. If everybody stays clustered up on the staircase in the choke, this could be very dangerous for them. Pokes back down around the corner. Waits for his opportunity to strike. Finds Aldo, gets a couple headshots in, forces him back.
What is it?
Continue to duke this out. It's going to be the cleanup here on the supports. The rest of Shanghai Dragons just keeping things stable.
I mean, Aldo just got... I mean, Fleta ran like 6 circles around him in record time. He couldn't find anything. Fleta was using his clips around those sightlines around the corners better. Aldo was wasting a lot of his shots, so it was a dominant duel where Fleta was pressuring the support line while also just dealing with the enemy Tracer at the same time. It just feels like a mechanical outclassing is what we're watching here from the Shanghai Dragons. London Spitfire just can't keep up. And Lip is even rotating behind them oftentimes, and they're just not able to deal with that pressure of the Tracer and the Ashe. It's an Ashe. Oh, that's a kill right there, but it's an Ashe battle they're losing, which further makes me feel like Glister should swap to McCree here to help deal with Fleta's harassment, so they can make one strong push with Trance to the point. But they're just so focused on winning this duel that, frankly, I don't know if Glister can win against Lip right now. Not with line of sight disadvantage, you know. I mean, it's rough.
It's looking very poor for them. Really nice 1-2 punch there. Get that kill onto Aldo as well. Pulse Bomb going to be lobbed in, but actually the Kinetic Grasp will take that one away. They had the Immortality Field up as well, just in case. So we're prepared, but a nice little bonus for Bernard to get that extra shielding coming through.
Nice check there from Bernard to also identify, you know, where Fleta is. Has a pulse here, but his blinks are a bit questionable. He's trying to find the perfect angle.
Oh, lobs it over top of him. Instead of just going for the shots, he was already so low, he thought for sure that he would have just gone ahead with the primary fire to take down Luffy. Instead tries to get the pulse bomb stick, and it just nets them nothing. Void blocking out these boulders with his own barriers, falling low, but Kinetic Grasp. He will get pulled back in, however, so will lead to his demise. But with 26 seconds remaining and nothing building up on the point, London Spitfire, they have to go all in. The Supercharger going to be placed in around the corner, the backside of the hotel as Fearless tries to stay alive. Immortality Field will come out, but Lip finds the first kill as Blister will fall. Bob, you're forward on the point, trying to keep the fight going and keep things contested. Will be able to do so for now, but will this help them in the long run? A lot of damage there onto Fleta as he gets the kill on the Hylie. The pulse bomb out doesn't lead to much. Lip trying to get the dynamite there onto Bernard, slowly starts chipping away at him, and he will get finished off, and no one will be able to stand onto the point. The war, the battle. Shanghai come out victorious in it yet again, and now are just going to be leading in this series 2-0. Match point now for them. London Spitfire in a position where they have to pull off a reverse sweep.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. It feels like their morale is broken. You know, watching that moment with Aldo where he was, you could feel the desperation, right, from that view he had, where you saw the blinks come through even though no one knew where he was. Like, he was just so desperately trying to find the perfect angle, the perfect pulse. He was like, I gotta pull somebody. I've got to do something. And then as you mentioned, you know, the opposing Batista's at like 20% health, and then he whiffs the pulse bomb, and then the exo boots go off, and he's just like, oh god, I gotta recall. Like, such a frustrating moment where you could just feel the frustration like through his play of how it feels like their comp that they practiced really hard just isn't making a dent, and they've got to force it to work. And I think they shouldn't have. I think they should have played slower. I think they should have swapped to McCree. But, you know, that map's over now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if things keep going this way, the series will be over quite shortly as well. But we'll see what happens. There's still at least one more map to be played by the London Spitfire. Need to pick up a victory there if they want to extend this series. Otherwise, Shanghai Dragons going to be looking for a 3-0 sweep. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have our halftime, so stay tuned.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's time for our game break, Wolf, where we can go ahead, decompress, and take a look back at the previous two maps. Pretty dominant overall from the Shanghai Dragons. London Spitfire just kind of struggling to hold a candle to them right now.
Yeah, I was talking about our thoughts on like what London might do, or at least my thoughts, and I think you probably share a sentiment of like Sombra's banned, be a little bit more creative, try something. It looks like they're just sticking to what probably most of the teams in Asia are running in scrims right now. The hero pool has been announced for quite a long time by now about the new rules for the hero pools, et cetera, which you kind of talked about earlier. But also that Sombra is banned, so I'm a little bit surprised they're just running what's meta instead of coming up with their own strategy, because when you run meta versus meta and you're potentially the weakest team in your region versus the strongest team, you're going to have some issues oftentimes.
Yeah, and I think that we're kind of seeing those weaknesses come to the surface more and more as this series goes on, and it's time to polish the armor and get that strap back on for map number 3. But whether or not they're going to be able to do so is the big question, and we just kind of have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It is, however, time for our crunch time. So what do you got for me today, Wolf?
I mean, I think this one is like a little bit hard. I don't have like the sideshow NFL drawing with like the lines and everything, like Epic Pen and OBS, like woo. But I will say that I think for the rest of the series, I think London Spitfire need to first of all calm down and start playing as a unit again, because what we saw on the very first round of Busan versus what we saw there at the end of King's Row, from like really, really solid, polished play to King's Row utter chaos, everything is falling apart. I don't know what's going on in comms. I think they need to calm down and then play the game they practice. It's too late to change now. It's too late to run that unique and interesting composition I was talking about before. You can't suddenly on the fly during this little halftime say, all right, we're going to run this other comp we've been practicing, totally change it up. You can't really do that anymore. I mean, it's tough to make a decision like that when you're down 0-2.
Sure.
And I think if they had been keeping that in mind, they probably would have done something about it before now, but either way, what I really want them to do is just to play their game, play it well, and stay focused. And I know it sounds like a really generic answer, but the real talk, guys, is that London had a very low chance of winning any maps in this series before we came into the matches today, and it feels like right now after map 2, their chance is even lower than our expectations just because of how chaotic their coordination became, or lack of coordination, I guess you could say.
Sure.
I think they just need to stay focused and make sure that they don't get too mentally boomed, as we like to say, about, okay, I'm playing against the best team in Asia, probably the best team in the world. Come at me, Philly fans. And and it's going to be hard.
Question there.
It's going to be hard to win this one, but like let's not be hopeless, right? It felt like there was almost a feeling of hopelessness in London Spitfire's play in that last attack on King's Row.
But that's where I kind of disagree with you. I mean, I agree with everything that you just finished saying, but previously, I think that this is the moment that you go for the Hail Mary. You say, screw it, throw out the playbook, go to, perhaps the wild off-meta strategy that you might have been developing here in these last few weeks in anticipation of this matchup. You said it yourself, you're going up against potentially the best team in the world right now in the Overwatch League. It just looks like if you continue to run meta against them, you're just going to be met with failure. So at that point, why not just go off meta? Why not just throw it at them, see if you can find some results and, find some success there? I think that being down in this position, it's kind of either you do it and it works, or you do it and you lose. And I think that's going to be the same output. I think that's going to be the same result as if they continue to play meta against the Shanghai Dragons. So if they have a strategy, I think right now is the time to do it, because it's either going to work or they're going to go down 0-3. I think regardless of if they keep doing meta, I think that's what's going to happen. So I say, screw it, throw out the playbook, throw out the meta, and just go wild. Take a leaf out of Chengdu Hunter's book from last year and just invent your own meta, run it against people who don't know how to deal with it. I think that is the best thing that you can do.
Well, we'll have to see what they do, when we get back into that third and potentially final map. I mean, it is hard to say. There's no perfect answer here. I mean, there's a clear skill gap between these two teams, and it's hard to hear that too. If you're a London fan, you're probably thinking, but I know there's so much potential on this team. I know these players are good. The Killers Wolf told me these guys weren't rookies. What's going on? They haven't been able to find the same amount of success, and
Yeah.
It's hard when you're in that situation and you're against a top team like this, and it's been a rough season, a lot of travel, a lot of unexpected things happening to you in 2020 that no one could have foreseen. So it's not an easy time if you're a London fan, and everybody knows that. But this third map isn't going to make it any easier, I don't think.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens. That is it for our game break and for our crunch time. When we come back, we will have that third and potentially final map, so stay tuned. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, and welcome back. It is time to see if the London Spitfire can pick up a victory here in this series and extend it, or if the Shanghai Dragons will just come straight back in for the month of June and start asserting their dominance off the bat. Already have been looking extremely strong and currently lead 2-0. Now Temple of Anubis is the map that decides the fate of the London Spitfire.
Yeah, Temple of Anubis, the next map, meaning that we do have a lot of Genji potential. We already saw Fleta run it once on King's Row, and I think there's a really good chance we'll see him do it again, especially because it seems like London Spitfire aren't great at dealing with it right now. And I think the elephant in the room is Brigitte is banned from competitive play for the next 2 weeks, so Dive becomes a lot more powerful if you can execute it without D.Va. So it's tricky because you don't have D.Va. It's actually a really cool hero play. This is like my favorite one I think we've had so far, because you've got Echo out of the picture, Sombra, EMP, you know, all the ult economy cheating that Sombra does, basically. You've got that out of the picture. But then Brigitte's gone, but you don't have D.Va either, so it's like, okay, Dive is strong without Brigitte, but it's a little bit weaker without the D.Va there to help you collapse in. So I think we're going to see a lot of different takes on Dive, like what we saw Shanghai run with the Pocket, Mercy, but also Zarya for the Genji. And we are seeing perhaps a take that they have on it with the Doomfist here as well.
I mean, we're seeing look. I mean, look at the lineup right now for the London Spitfire. It's just going to be changes across the board here. So we've got Babel and Shui coming through for DPS Jihun, and Kleston in the tank line. Krillin taking back to, I was going to say to the stage, I guess to his seat, and is on the server alongside Fuse.
I mean, this is what you were
Shanghai
saying.
Dragons keeping things the same.
This is basically what you were saying is, you know, perhaps compositionally it's not that unique, but they do have the Pharah here, but they changed it up big time. They tried something very different. And Fuse on the Mercy. I really like Fuse's Mercy. Definitely underrated compared to his Lucio. And Shanghai Dragons are going to kind of check this out real quick and see exactly what they are running. And they'll probably swap accordingly. We know how powerful Lip is on McCree, and that might be one of their go-to hero swaps here if this first push doesn't go according to plan to help deal with that Pharah in the sky. But it's tough because the Ashe kind of counters the McCree in a lot of ways. Just kind of sitting back and getting, they're just getting pot shots at their faces right now, though, as they try to decide what to do.
Well, solid start getting the pick off there on a Fearless. So that helps him out a lot. Shui is building up nicely towards that barrage. Of course, is going to have to be cautious about a potential deflection coming in from Fleta.
Yeah, Lip is trying to pull them away from this bunker right now from behind.
Yeah, and that is going to be Krillin and Fuse get taken down here off the bat. Now Shui going to be falling as well, and I don't think that they're going to be running that far on point B. So with them just breaking through, that might just throw all of that ult charge away. We'll see if he holds on to it long enough to use the barrage. Seems like that might be the play here. But in one fell swoop, Shanghai just go ahead and spill forward onto the point, and they lock that down. 5 minutes, 40 seconds starting for the advancement here onto point B, showing absolutely no mercy whatsoever towards the London Spitfire.
My feet chugged a moment when that happened, but it looked like Lip just drew their attention away right when the slam came through. Void comes through with the Wrecking Ball, just disperses everyone. They fall apart. Fleta's got a blade now, and he's going for it.
Yeah, Nano Boost is out. He's trying to climb the walls, and he dashes through to get rid of Shui. Absolutely insane from Fleta. That's going to be the only kill that he finds with a Nano Blade. But now he's going to be looking for another target. Sees Babel on that left side of the point. The first take nearly going over to the Shanghai Dragons so far. Just to try and clear off these tankier members of the London Spitfire. Klesson going to be forced to take a breather. Jihan, for the moment there, was slept. Now Bionated. Barrage comes in from Shui. Manages to find Luffy, but Fleta deflects right back onto the Pharah. Manages to take him out of the sky. Jihan, however, still alive with a Wrecking Ball for the time being. Gets rid of the enemy Genji and is staying elusive. Will drop down, looks for the Mega Pack. Seems like it's not available, but it does not matter. They managed to hold them off, and crucially, it's before they can get a single tick on the point.
Fuse bought a ton of time on the Lucio, and, you know, Fuse is perhaps most famous for his environmental kills in the Korean community, and, you know, he's been around for a long time, played on MVP Space, and several teams after that before joining the London Spitfire. That's where he got his start. And his survivability, though, I think is what practically in competitive Overwatch he's best at. And he did so much work buying time there.
Okay, well, Babel going to be taking himself down with the Pulse Bomb, it would seem. Maybe we'll get a replay and see what happened there. For the moment, though, Shui was the recipient of a Nano Boost just to try and build up that Dragon Blade. Came up with 2 kills, but then does get taken down by Void, but it does not matter. The rest of the London Spitfire are there to scoop the kill and finish off that Zarya, ensuring that any energy built up is now going to be expended. So, decent hold continuing here for London.
Yeah, Fleta was like trying to 1v6 there because he knew it was a reset. You feel that London Spitfire is taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
But look at the position here of Jihoon. He's actually in a nice spot to pile drive when they do cross that gap. And he can also swing around and kind of knock them into the rest of the London Spitfire and cut them in half. So I really like that Wrecking Ball positioning.
Fleta pushing forward, gets into the back line, looks for a pick-off. Jihoon, however, with a minefield, will take down Izayaki. So further delays here going to be coming through for the Shanghai Dragons, and they even have that Primal Rage committed to the fight, so that's just going to be another tool gone from them, from their arsenal now. Lip will find one, but I mean, even if the respawn wasn't right there, it's a Wrecking Ball, so he's going to be able to get into the action very quickly. Fleta with that Pulse, however, does manage to find Krillin. Now Klesson going to be eliminated as well. This is the moment here for the Shanghai Dragons to finally break through. Jihan goes in. Shui going to be stuck out of that Dragon Blade for the moment, and then does get finished off by Luffy. Huge plays from him to get rid of and nullify that entire Genji ultimate. Shanghai, however, still unable to tick up on the point. It is going to be further delayed for the moment. Fuse under some fire, trying to survive. Will have that sound barrier online. Bionade connects onto both of the tanks. The shield's going to be coming through now as he drops the beat, and Shui returning with the Doomfist. Takes down Fleta, and with 3 members gone, Shanghai are going to have to peel back. So it starts looking good for them there at the start, but yet again are staved off and cannot get any percentage here on point B.
Spitfire's comp too with the the Roadhog now in the mix gives them a lot of extra sustainability. And Shanghai Dragons looking like they want to make some changes here. Fearless, for a moment, swapping over to the Orisa, but does decide to go back to, at the end of the day, the Wrecking Ball here. They're going to have another Pulse Bomb available, as well as the sound barrier. But Shui, if he gets an opening pick, they can't win this 5v6. He's even going to get the Nano.
Yeah, Nano goes in, and with the help of that uppercut, the primary fire, Luffy will be taken out. He is well into the back line and doesn't really have a way to get out to safety, so will be collapsed upon. So they do manage to take him out. Jihoon trying to retreat, gets that bubble crucially to help keep him alive, and now he's going to be feeding over so much ult charge for the healers.
That was really nice by Jihoon too. He was set up for the perfect minefield. He didn't need it though. They had already gotten 2 kills, so he actually had the restraint to keep holding on to it. But that was a great rotation, perfectly executed right behind them. They're gonna have to use sound barrier to approach this, I think. Izayaki will. Once they get close to the point.
Minefield goes out. Yeah, it's on the main entrance here. Graviton Surge going to be used from Void. Bionate tossed in, does take down Cleston. Into the backline goes Lip with a Death Blossom. Manages to find both of the supports and is shielded up by that sound barrier. 5 members gone to the side of the London Spitfire. You can see Battle way away from the point right now. They have to try and recontest this one, but can anybody get there in time? The answer is going to be no. Babel tries to do so, but Lip takes him down. The headshot coming through, but 57 seconds is all that Shanghai finished with, so under a minute, and that's after they start with 5 minutes and 40, so fantastic time buying there on the point B defense from the London Spitfire, but now we have to see how they fare on their own attack.
Yeah, I mean, the attack that they had, the A push that got them such a huge time bank, allowed them to play for a big, essentially 6-man ult push, and I really appreciate how London, when they knew that Shanghai Dragons had the ults they needed to take the fight on the point, they kept actually fighting Shanghai Dragons off the point, fighting them in the archway, putting Shui on the Doomfist, nano boosting him so they could cut the Shanghai Dragons down, because they had a comp that could heal through a lot of the damage. If Shanghai had tried to take that fight 4v5 after, there was the 1-for-2 trade there, they would have lost for sure. And I think London was kind of feeling like, all right, if you try it and lose your ultimates, then you can never take the point, and if you just wait for 6 ults, it's going to cost you so much time with how aggressive and how far forward they were playing. It was actually really nice defense for London. At the end of the day, Shanghai does finish it, but that was a very solid defense and a really nice execution of Wrecking Ball by Jihoon. It was, he is one of the real rookies, right? He is one of those players who's kind of just now bursting into the scene, so you love to see that with a roster that's just totally a 6-man sub in, extremely rare in the Overwatch League. But this one so far is looking clean.
Yes, it has, but now that they're on the other side, we have to see how they are going to be faring. Shui will be piloting that Genji and Fleta up in the sky with the Pharah. For the most part, going to be relatively safe. Krillin going to be one of his biggest threats that he has to worry about as long as he can stay, very well elevated here. We'll go ahead and push back. Doesn't want to take any unnecessary chip damage and give over ult charge. Looks for the tag there on to Shui. Would have taken him close to elimination.
Deflect is the counter to Pharah now.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you can deflect those rockets straight back up into the air. Have that pyro practice from TF2, the air bursts coming through.
That's a throwback.
You can see. Level falling low, still getting pressured here by the rockets. Everybody going to be piling indoors, trying to stay safe. Now wrapping around that right-hand side from the defender's perspective. Barrier goes up, they try to keep it blocked. Fleta falling low, but has that mercy pocket from Luffy to keep him in the skies. Right up into his face goes Fuse, but in all of the chaos, it's going to be Krillin taken down. And with Ana being as slow as she is, basically all of Spitfire have to pull back and then re-approach together because they cannot rely on her to get there by herself.
Fleta's forcing Cleston to use his barrier like an umbrella, right? And he's placing it up, towards where Fleta is. And Fleta's got all these great angles where you get fuel back and also threaten the rest of the team. But that means on the ground, the rest of the Shanghai Dragons collapse in from multiple angles and there's just no defense. Oh, look at the stun!
Oh. Yeah, looking for the rollout. We'll still have the pile drive in. Fleta going to be slept and taken down. Cleston finds that pick, and that is going to be absolutely huge here for Spitfire, but the rest of them have to stay alive. Lip with the dynamite does manage to take down Shui, as Jihoon is just trying to, cause as much chaos as humanly possible and displace the members of the Shanghai Dragons, but they still continue to play forward. Nano boost here onto Fearless, gets stunned up, has that emergency ejection button of the Primal Rage, but does not need to use it. Luffy just floats up top and keeps him alive. Both supports you can see there through the wall. Now, under fire from Void will be eliminated. This Grill's the first one to go down. See that Flux coming through, pulls one up into the air, looks for the slam back down. That is going to be the end of Shui here. Gets sent back into the respawn chamber. Void kites his way back over towards the point as Bob goes ahead, takes down Fuse, and it seems like Shanghai Dragons going to be able to maintain control of this point. And time is just getting less and less available for the London Spitfire.
Void's positioning and his movement throughout all of that made Sigma look like an extremely mobile hero, which we know in reality he's not. But is going to again threaten from this position where he can get his fuel back really easily by like landing on these tiers, these windows, whatever you want to call it. So he can get his fuel back there and then still be in the sky. It's actually a really nice position to go from. We're going to see the blade now as the approach. The knockback, though!
The boot, yeah, the knockback from the Primal Rage that keeps Fleta safe in the air when he had fallen so low. The barrage now comes through. He gets rid of Jihun, manages to survive through the rest of the barrage, and Feelers, the Primal Rage, does go ahead and finish off Shui, and they get the res onto Lip as well. So 6 men strong are the Shanghai Dragons here on the point with 50 seconds remaining for the London Spitfire, and they have given everything that they had to that, and it netted them nothing. They nearly have another nano boost online for Krillin as he gets finished off here on the back end, but you know, it's going to have to just be used onto Shui, and they still have this extreme stagger coming through on the Cleston.
Yeah, this is rough. That's, as you say, an extreme stagger. That was extremely late, and he just couldn't get out. There was no way out. He tried to trade a kill back, but that's all he's going to get. Look at this positioning here. And London Spitfire have to go for this desperate Zarya swap. They have to look for some sort of nano boosted high-energy Zarya to just plow through the point, but I don't know. I mean, it's not impossible. It's not out of the question, but it's going to have to be executed really well. And someone has to touch. It's going to be Babel here. So he's going to come around the back just to touch this to give him that chance. Jihun's with him. It's going to be a long fight they have to win. And here's the Nano.
Yeah, Nano will go through here on a Shui. Dashes in, manages to find Fearless, but Krillin going to be taken down now. Babel going to be gone as well. Fleta coming out on top in that Tracer 1v1. Up on the high ground goes Shui, but he's got no HP, and Olympus is going to be able to tag him in the behind. Goes ahead, finishes him off. Bubble comes through to save Fuse's life for a little bit longer, but the Dynamite will burn him down. Tries to hide, but the healing is not going to be enough. They push forward. Luffy with a Mercy manages to get the final kill of the round, and that will be the full hold here on point A of Temple of Anubis. The GGs come out in the chat, and Shanghai Dragons continue to assert their dominance after winning the May Melee. They start June off with a bang and a 3-0 sweep over the London Spitfire.
Very crushing victory. Things got a little bit out of hand there in that last push for the London Spitfire. Like, they put a nano boost onto the Genji there, so Shui was trying to... He got a kill as soon as the nano boost came through, but he didn't get any follow-up. He didn't have a blade available, obviously. I think maybe playing it a little bit slower would have been the easier play, but it got a little bit chaotic when you've got Jihun trying to touch as well. There's a Tracer over there, Babel's on the point, and they're trying to do a little bit of everything in that final attack. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like London showed us some really good... Like, London showed us some really good synergy with this new roster that they put together. New roster, you know what I'm saying? The new 6-man sub that they brought in.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, what if they started with this roster, how different good things have been. They seemed very fresh. I liked how they played overall more than the Bernard roster that we saw at the beginning of this evening. And they put a few dents in Shanghai. Like, that really long defense on Anubis B was really impressive to watch. And they didn't take a map, no, but I feel like they showed us some good Overwatch tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they were chipping away at Shanghai where they could. Unfortunately, it was just a little half-baked. They got halfway there, but then couldn't quite close it out. So, you know, super strong defense on B. Then they flip over to the attack. They can't get to A. So there's still some kinks that need to be worked out here in order for them to find some, you know, further success. But this was the toughest opponent that they could possibly have, and it has such a now renowned player on that lineup who is our player of the match, and that is Fleta, who just performed extremely well the whole way through, was consistently there, wasn't swapped out, and you can see why. This guy, pretty much no matter what you put him on, he's just dominant.
And his Pharah was really the X factor that London Spitfire couldn't deal with at all in the series. We'll never know if it's because they think that's the strongest way. Well, we'll not say never. We'll probably know in their next match. But I was going to say, it's impossible to tell at this exact moment in time if he was used on Pharah because they had Defiant, who's a really good Mercy player, and they thought this is the best way to deal with the situation when being sick, or if they just think this is really strong in the meta. But, I mean, Fleta is a player that can play so many heroes at an extremely high level that when there is no Diva available and Pharah is really strong, on these maps we're seeing, it makes sense when you've got a strong Luffy, or a strong Mercy Luffy here, in this case, to pair with them, that you'd see so much of it. And London Spitfire were a little bit hesitant to run McCree, and I think they just kind of got bowled over by amazing positioning from Fleta all series long.
Yeah, I just didn't know how to deal with him. It was really rough for them, and then even, Lip coming through, it just seemed like nothing had really changed. They were just as strong with DM as they were with Lip. So fantastic performance from the Shanghai Dragons. A great way to kick off, the month of June for those guys. Can be holding their heads high as they get ready for their next match, next week, I'm sure, coming up. But we're not done yet, Wolf. We, of course, do have another series today. And, I would say that this is kind of the marquee matchup. This one, we knew that London was going to struggle a bit versus Shanghai Dragons. Maybe they even exceeded our expectations in some regards throughout this set. But now we've got the Seoul Dynasty getting ready to go up against the NYXL, who, of course, have made some recent additions to that roster. And we'll have to see if those are going to come to fruition on our screens here in just a little bit. So stay tuned, guys, because this is going to be a very exciting series, and you do not want to miss it.